everyone, I hope you're all having a lovely day. So before you attempt to continue on with this tutorial, I got a little disclaimer to tell you. This tutorial is going to be very long. I will say that. I try my very best to keep it as short as possible, but due to the complex nature of kit bashing and combining booth outfits to Vroid models or just overall different models and such, it is pretty, especially for me to explain. Yeah, I do apologize that the tutorials could not be any shorter. I mean, there's probably a way to explain them even shorter, but again, there are going to be some missing information that would probably be very crucial. So keep that in mind, these tutorials are going to be pretty long. And also, I did try my very best to explain as thorough as possible, but do keep in mind there are probably going to be some missing information that you may require external researching, so please keep that in mind. You're going to have to do some extra checking on different tutorials to ensure that you understand the whole process basically and just 3D in general. And last but not least, I hope you guys have fun. And again, always make sure to credit your artists, whoever made your booth outfits and such. Check in the description. There are the assets that you'll be needing. And yeah, on to the tutorial! Hey, hi everybody! I hope you're all having a good day. I hope you're all smiling and enjoying your lovely day. So in this following tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you on how to take a booth hair asset and combine it to your Vroid model, or any model in particular. I'll be using a Vroid model as it's, easy to demonstrate it, but basically, booth hair to your Vroid model. And I'll be showing you pretty much a couple different techniques on how you can basically do that. So, what we're doing first and foremost, of course, we're going to talk about the requirements you're going to be needing. So, you're going to be needing Unity. Unity will be if your booth outfit or asset, let's say you don't have an FBX file, you don't have a blend file, the only thing you have is the Unity package file. We're going to be basically extracting the asset from the Unity package, which usually they have the FBX file integrate in there, and if not, then oopsies. But we will be using Unity to extract the asset, basically. We're going to be using Blender to combine it to our model, basically. So the hair will combine it to the model and, of course, do any of our other edits there. And then, once we have, since we have Blender, of course, you're going to, of course, need the actual assets themselves. So if you have bought your hair from Booth or something, or you got it from Sketchfab or something, wherever you got the hair from or your outfit, have the model on you, as well as having your main model. Like if it's your Vroid model or your even a different Booth model, have that model on you. And then what you're going to do is you're also going to download the Cat's Blender add-on, as we're going to be utilizing some some settings in there to help make the merging process a little bit easier on us. As well as, if you're a Vroid model, use the VRM Blender add-on, or if your model is only in VRM format, there is the VRM Blender add-on, so you can import your VRM model into Blender so you could do some intense editing with it. So there you go. And that's pretty much it in regards of requirements. If I miss anything, let me know. In the description, all the assets will be there, so check it out. As well as, of course, the assets that I'm using in this video, with the exception of Test Chan. But either way, so we have Unity here, and what we're going to do is we are going to start off by, I'm going to go ahead on File Explorer, because that is where I have the hair asset. My client Alice sent me this asset over, so thank you very much, Alice. Thank you for allowing me to use this for this tutorial. So I only have the Unity package for the hair. It's the Viadai Twin Kikyo hair asset from Booth. And I'm going to click and drag the Unity package into Unity. Now, in case you're wondering, I'm using Unity 2019.4.31 because when it comes to VTubers, I use it for VRM as well as VSF Avatar, because VSF Avatar uses 2019. I will say in the future there may be some Unity changes, so please keep in mind there may be a change where some programs may update to 2020 or 2021 or something like that. So just keep that in mind. But either way, I'm just click and drag, and I put the Unity package in here. So there is a folder, a new folder that has the hair asset. So we're going to go ahead and click inside. And you have to find a folder that says FBX. If by any chance you do not see an asset or a folder that says FBX at all, technically there is a way to convert models that are only in prefab format to FBX. I won't be covering in this tutorial how to do it, I don't want to make this tutorial too long, but there is a way to do it. There's a way to export stuff from Unity and put them as an FBX format. So I just want to let you know. But for this case, we have an FBX file though. So what we're going to do, it should look something like this. You could be able to do this. A prefab, usually they don't really have the arrow for the most part. It depends. But pretty much this is the FBX, because when we click it, you know, we have all the things that an FBX file should have, basically. So pretty much, all we just need to do is we just need to locate the file. So we're going to right-click, and we're going to click on Show in Explorer. And then the File Explorer should pop up, basically. That should show us where the FBX file is. So, of course, make sure you have it selected, right-click, and then it should right-click on Show in Explorer, and then, boom, you should have the exact file path. Then what you're going to do is that on the top of your File Explorer, there is that area where it has the file path. You're going to click on it and make sure you select everything and then do Control-C to copy that file path. And we're going to paste that into Blender. So we're going to go ahead and switch over to Blender now and say hi to TestChan. So this is a Vroid model. And what we're going to do, of course, if by any chance you don't know how the Vroid model got in here, then just go File, Import, and then VRM. Make sure that the VRM Blender add-on is installed. I sadly cannot show every time how to install the add-on. Again, resources in the description for extra stuff. But when you do that, File, Import the VRM file, you should be able to have your Vroid model here. And then for the hair, you're going to do File, Import, and then FBX. And then on the top part of Blender file view, there is a little box there which has a file path. You're going to do Control V and paste the file path there, and the FBX file should pop up from the Unity project. And we're going to import that FBX to Blender, and there you go. We got from Unity over to Blender. There you go, you got the hair. Now, of course, if you already have the hair in the FBX or Blend format, you can easily import it into the Blend project. So there you go, boom chakalaka boom. So of course, File, Import, that shows you FBX, you can import. But if it's a Blend file, you might want to do append. I think you can click, like from File Explorer, you can click and drag a Blend file into another Blend file and it'll import. But I tend to typically do append myself, but again, there are multiple ways to put a Blend file or merge Blend files together, so yeah. But either way, so what we're going to do is we are going to, so we want to take this hair and we want to put it on TestChan. How are we going to do that? There are multiple ways of doing it. Some people tend to just do the S key and kind of do this, which this works, by the way, if you do this. But you have to remember that if you're just going to scale it by just selecting the armature, or I guess if you select the mesh, and do all that scaling, you have to apply a transformation. But I will say first and foremost, when it comes to the hair thing, do not just select the mesh and scale it, because remember, you have an armature. This armature will allow you to have physics and allows your hair to naturally move around. So please make sure you select the armature if it has one. If it doesn't have one, that's a different story. Then yeah, you could do something else with it. But for this case, we do have an armature. So for this case, we can scale the armature in object mode, and we can scale it accordingly, and then we can, you know, move it around a bit so it can be in the right place. So let's say this is how we want it. Then you have to make sure to, in the hierarchy on the top right of Blender, make sure you select your mesh and your armature, and then go to Object, click on Apply, and then Apply Transforms, basically. So there you go. That's pretty much a simple way of doing it. But let's say, I guess if you want more advanced, let's say for instance, I see that the hair here is clipping, right? Like the hair, here is going through the arm or something like that. How do I fix that? So you're going to have to go to pose mode instead for that. I mean, you can also, of course, like I said, there's edit mode, but then again, you don't want to do that if it's pre-rigged. So select your armature, go to object mode on the top here, and click on pose mode. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go press Z, wireframe, and then I'm going to select the part of the, I'm going to make sure I click on this box thing here so I can click and drag. So these little ponytail bones here, I'm going to move it by pressing the R button. That way it can rotate so it can move away from the arm. So if there's like some clipping issues, then just move the bones instead. That way you don't mess up the armature basically. And then once you have it where you can also do posing too. It's not just like for correction. Let's say you want your hair to be shorter. You can just scale it and boom, there you go. Like let's say for instance, you want it where your hair is slightly posed different. Like I want this to be smaller and then I want this to be posed like this. Or this could be like more farther, or I want this to be like more smaller, I guess. You can mess around with the bones basically, so that way like if you don't like a certain thing about it, this is a good start. So like you can make this longer and such, just like that, this is just drawing an example. Or let's say even I want these pigtails to be super long, then you can like scale and such, take your time of course, but I'm just giving like I said, examples. So yeah, let's say we just want it to be super long, right? That. So there's, you could do, you can press the S key, G key, or the R key. I mean, for G key, it depends on if the bone does allow rotation, or for G to allow movement, but overall, mess around with the bones first, and let's say we're going to select all of it. We're going to be needing the Cat's Blender add-on for this one, because if you're posing your hair, you will have to make sure we apply the transformation of the bones if we want to stay permanently. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all the bones here. We're going to go into armature and make sure to select the armature that corresponds to your hair. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on apply as rest pose. And that way it will allow that the bones are, they're properly frozen. So that way this will be our permanent hair. And once we have that, so the next thing we're going to be doing pretty much is we need to get this hair combined to our main armature. So how do we do that? So of course there are two methods to doing it, of course. So there is of course the method where if your hair is unrigged, what do you do? And then also if let's say the hair is pre-rigged, what do I do? So let's say we're going to start off with pre-rigged hair. So what we're going to do is we're going to first identify which is the root bone of the hair. So we're going to go into edit mode by pressing the tab key. And, you can select edit mode from the top left here. But you can go into edit mode, right? And press the Z key and then wireframe. You need to find out where is the root or head bone of the hair mesh, basically. This is the head bone. It looks something like this. It may look smaller like this or something like that, so keep an eye out for anything that says root or if it's a controller. If it has any weird Japanese names or any different name, basically, you can easily identify which one is the root by going to pose mode and just moving the hair around and seeing which one just controls the entire hair overall without weird stretching. So I know for this case, this is the actual head bone, and this is the one that I need to merge to the Vroid model's head. So that's what we need to do. So, and then of course for our Vroid model, which I'll go ahead back to object mode and select the Vroid model's armature. This here is the head bone for the Vroid model. They tend to look like this. It can look, it can either look like this, or sometimes it can look like this sometimes, depending on how much is parented to your head. But either way, whichever the top bone up here is, this is your head bone. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the hair bone, or the hair armature, shift select the Vroid armature, and do Control J. And then we're going to select the head bone of the hair, which looks like this. You're going to shift select the head bone here, and you're going to do Control P and keep offset. And this should allow that the hair armature does follow your head. Personally, me, what I do is I use the Cat's Blender add-on, and I go to model options and I merge the hair root bone to parents to keep my armature more clean. Otherwise, you don't have to if you need a root bone for whatever reason, like dynamic bones. But personally, me, I like to merge my stuff together and keep it cleaner. But either way, it's up to you. And then what you're going to do, because the thing is, if I go to pose mode right now and I move the head bone, the hair is not going to follow. It's because we did not tell Blender to connect the hair mesh to the armature. So we need to do that. So we're gonna go back to object mode. We're gonna select all the hair assets on the top right of our hierarchy, right there. And then you're going to shift select to the Vroid armature, and then Control P, and then empty groups. This will allow that your hair is now properly connected to your Vroid model's armature. And then you can actually go to pose mode, and there you go. Now it is properly rigged. And of course, if you wish to test out physics in Blender, you can use the wiggle bone add-on. I made a tutorial on how to do that. But just to quickly demonstrate, I can do this. And then there could be like physics. Yeah, there could be like physics basically. So there you go. You can test out some cool physics in Blender. All because of the wiggle bone add-on. So yeah, that's a little fun extra thing. But usually I don't really mess with the physics though, unless you want to. But I usually do all my physics testing in Unity. But either way, that's basically, in a nutshell, how you can connect. But what happens if the hair is unrigged? Well, like, let's say it's a very short hairstyle. You want to put on your Vroid model, but there is no bones. What do you do? So let me go ahead. Let's say I'm going to delete the, armature, and then I'm going to, let's say, join these. And let's pretend this thing does not have any vertex groups or anything like that. Delete. And let's say this is unrigged. What do I do? So you're going to select the hair mesh. You're going to shift select the armature of your Vroid model. Control P, empty groups. Then what you're going to do is you're going to select the hair, go to edit mode, and press the A key to select everything. Then you're going to go to the top left here and go to weight paint mode. Select on this button to enable vertice mode. And then you're going to find the Vroid model's head bone, which is usually on the top area here, like around this area. And then you're going to click on the sign so the hair is red. And then what you're going to do, you can go to pose mode on your Vroid model. And there you go. Now the hair follows. If you want to have physics, you are going to have to learn some basic rigging stuff. But overall, that's pretty much in a nutshell how you do it basically. And pretty much overall, that's how you can combine your boost hair onto a Vroid model. But let's say you did all that, but you see some issues. Like, let's say there's some clipping issues here. And let's say even when you do the whole bone posing, it still does not work out, you know? Like, there's certain parts that you want to edit, but you can't edit it with just the bones alone. What do you do? Well, this is where you're going to actually have to go into the mesh of the hair, and you're going to have to do some manual editing if you want to further refine it. So you can either A, go to edit mode, select the top, or press the O key for proportional tool edit, it's right up here, and then you can either do connected only, which will only, you know, for any meshes that are connected, you can be able to move it around, specifically that area. Or you can have the entire hair, which sometimes you may tend to do that, so it controls the entire hair. Like, adjust as you wish, basically. But you can use edit mode and kind of do some further refining of the mesh, basically, like to fix some clipping issues and all that. Move some stuff around so it looks a little bit better, basically. So you can do that. But let's say you don't like this method. Then you can actually go into sculpt mode. Up here, top left, sculpt mode. And personally, I use either the draw brush here, which will make things more outward. Or if I want to smooth a certain area, like let's say I don't like these bumpy areas, you can press on the smooth tool here, and then increase the strength, and then you can make it where areas can be more smoother, basically. And of course you can mess around with the brushes. Sometimes I use the grab brush if I want to like grab a certain area and make it longer or something. Basically play around with the sculpt brushes. I don't use all of them, but I do use quite a handful of them depending on what I'm using it for basically. But either way, pretty much that is just how you can like further edit and refine your mesh basically. You can also, one last thing, you can actually, because sometimes the booth maulers, they can actually add blend shapes to actually allow you to change certain parts of the maul. Like, let's say, you know, they have it so you can make the bangs longer here via blend shapes. So how do you apply the blend shapes to the Vroid model, or the booth hair, actually? So allow me to show you how to do that. So, if you're doing the blend shape route, right? And you want it to apply. So let's say I'm going to apply 3 blend shapes, right? Let's say we're gonna apply these blend shapes, right? And of course you can change the minimum maximum, so if you need more you could just change the max here, make it a lot more bigger, so you can do that, whichever you want. So what you're going to do in order to apply the blend shapes to the hair is that you're just going to click on this button right here and click on apply all shape keys, and then boom, that's how you do it. That's pretty much it. There's other methods to applying the blend shapes if, you know, if you want it to be a little bit more specific, but in a nutshell, that's pretty much it, basically. So yeah, pretty much that's in a nutshell, like, different techniques, and, you know, pretty much like sort of like the basic workflow on how I add hair to Vroid models, or you know, from boost to Vroid, or even boost to boost model, or whatever it is, basically whatever the model is. This is how I add boost assets to said models, basically. So let's say you want to actually color your hair inside a blender. What do you do? So what you're going to do is you're going to select your hair mesh, basically, and then you're going to go into the material tab, and then there should be like a material or materials for your hair. Now, of course, if your hair is split into multiple parts, you can utilize the hierarchy to indicate how many parts of your hair it is, and also help you find out the different materials you have. But basically, you could select one of the hair pieces, and you can either if depending on where you bought the boost outfit from, and if it does have textures, you can actually have it where you can load the PNG file by clicking on this little yellow button here on base color. Then click on image texture, and then you can load using open and load in a pre-existing hair texture, or you could use Google and find some pre-existing hair textures. Keep in mind of copyright though, but either way, pretty much you can do that. Or if you want to keep it simple, you don't want to load a picture at all, then just change the base color to be whatever you want, basically. Keep in mind you're also going to have to apply this to Unity, which I won't be explaining how to do all this in Unity, but I will say that's pretty much how you could do the whole material stuff, or at least in general. You could do a lot more, but that's just in a nutshell how you can like change colors or add some details to your hair, basically. There are probably going to be different techniques you're going to have to use. It's a matter of self-experimenting, and it depends on the mesh and all that and what you're aiming for. So, and of course, please take your time, because again, depending on what you're aiming for, it may require a lot of editing. It may take hours to edit. So keep that in mind. But otherwise, I do hope that this tutorial gave you sort of like a general idea or workflow on how I personally do it, and I hope that this helps you out. And yeah, let me know if you have any other questions. I'll be sure, of course, to post more tutorials regarding the other outfits and such, so you can check them out. So yeah, but other than that though, I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!